ahead and get started. I'll introduce myself in just a moment, but before we go into introductions, I do just want to acknowledge our mission, values, and attributes, which you have likely seen and heard about all over the school. And similar to the way we hope to work in partnership with parents, this is part of the partnership. Are these missions, is the mission, the core values, and the attributes. All right, so welcome. It's nice to see some familiar faces here. It's nice to see some new faces here. My name is Courtney Beck, and I am this year the grade 6 counselor. I was previously the grade 8 counselor. So going back down to the grade 6 students is quite special and fun. I have been at the school for 10 years now. This is my 10th year, 7th in middle school. And I'm also the department chair for middle school counseling. Ms. Silva, she is our grade 7 counselor this year. She has been here this is her 11th or 12th year here at ASD. And then Ms. Knox is joining us here for her 6th year at ASD, and she is our grade 8 counselor. And what's really special about our program is that we have a dedicated counselor to that grade level, really to the year class, because I will follow the grade 6 students all the way up until grade 8. And then we rotate back down. And it really is a special opportunity because it gives us the chance to get to know the student, get to know the family, and we are that one constant that follows them year to year. And so that's really, I think, a great opportunity to really know the whole child and get to know the families as well. All right, welcome to the middle school counseling office. Last year, we had a little bit of a renovation to the counseling office. A lot of students would come in and we were connected to the middle school office, and there was a little bit of uncertainty. When they came into the counseling office, they were like, is this the principal's office? Is this the counseling office? They weren't quite sure. And so after lots of conversations, we finally were able to get some separation to really have a space of our own, because before it was just kind of an open space. You could very easily flow back and forth to the counseling office and the office. So our entrance is located on the ground floor in what they call the grade 6 hallway. And now there's some lovely signs that you will see that will kind of point you in the direction or the area that the middle school counseling space is in. Before you leave the door in the common area, we're off to the right if you're entering in from the main office side. We're in the middle common area off to the right. And when you enter, we have 3 offices here. Mrs. Silva is the first office you will see on your left-hand side. I am the middle office, and Ms. Knox is the third office. You will likely be greeted by Ms. Bina. Ms. Bina is our amazing administrative assistant who will greet you and kind of help you out with what it is that you need. Also in the counseling space, we do have a resource library that we invite you to use. We have books there on child development, on raising boys, on raising girls, on raising the teen. We have books about the teenage brain because it is a magical thing. It's not like the elementary brain, it's not like the high school brain, it really is a unique aspect of teenage development. So those are available for you to sign out. And then we do put information out in ASD News about what's on offer. So you're welcome to come in and kind of sign out a book and then return it when you're done. Here's the waiting area. We often have had many adults really just come in, some teachers, on a prep period, and they come into that space because we've been told it's very calming. We will typically have some music going. There may or may not be a candle sometimes, but we really do try to make it an inviting and a warm and welcoming space for students, for parents, for teachers. And then we do, over in this corner here, we call it our chill space. If a student is having a hard time having a hard time self-regulating and having a difficult time being in class, we have some private space for them, if our offices are not available, for them to just kind of self-regulate to be able to get back into class. We have lots of fidgets, we have a whiteboard there, we have coloring, we have lots of things that help students kind of ground themselves so that they're able to get back into class. So that is our office space. As I said, Miss Bina is our wonderful admin assistant. She's been with us now for 6 years also. And she helps with so many things, from planning events to getting us all the things that we need for the event to getting students during the day. She will also be the person you'll likely speak to if you're calling in to make an appointment. And she might be asking some questions just to get an idea of what the meeting may be about. And it's not to pry, it's not to invade privacy. She really is part of our office, and she respects the confidentiality, and she respects that there's sometimes sensitive things that we discuss. And so if she's asking for information, it's just to help prepare us for the meeting so that we know kind of how to support you when you're coming into the meeting. So she can be reached by email. Her email is mscounseling@asdubai.org, and the extension to the counseling office is 3315. All right, so counseling in schools. How many of you have had a guidance counselor growing up? Guidance counselor. Or pastoral care is another thing that's out there, in a lot of the IB curriculum. At ASD, we are school counselors. And ISCA, that's the kind of the foundation for the work that we do. It's the International School Counseling Association. This is their position statement on the role of a school counselor. I would say out of most people in the school, our role is often misunderstood or misinterpreted. But this, and I know high school shared this as well, this is really a great summary of what it is that we provide. And I am going to read through it. Counseling is the professional assistance and support provided to a student or small group of students during times of transition, heightened stress, critical change, or other situations impeding student success. It's short-term in nature and based on counseling theories and techniques that are effective in a school setting to support a student's development. It's a lot of words there, right? And so in a moment, I will go through what it is that we actually do to kind of put it into perspective for you. But I think an important piece of it is that sometimes people think we're a lot more qualified than we actually are, to be quite honest. But we are not able to provide therapy. The intention for us is that we're a school-based professional that provides a mental health perspective. We can't provide diagnosis. We can't provide long-term treatment. And if it comes to a point where we're seeing there's additional need, we'll refer out. Just because we want to do what's within our scope. And if we're finding that something is outside of our scope of being able to support, we refer out so that the student is better able to be supported. Okay? So what do we do? How do we support? What does all of that mean? First and foremost, we are student advocates. And a way I like to think of that is we like to provide an alternate perspective of how a student is being viewed. So if a parent or if somebody refers to the student as being lazy, 99.9% of the time it's not lazy. It might be that they're overwhelmed. It might be that they're bored in class and that they don't have the energy to do it. And so we try to give that varied perspective on what the student experience is like, that other people might not be able to observe or be able to realize or recognize. We also provide, as I said, the brief and solution-focused support. We want the kids in class. I think similar to you all probably want your children in class. Sometimes needs arise and they need to be taken out of class just to have a reset, to talk through some things, to help them regain perspective or help with regulation. But we really do try to intend that to be, as I said, brief and solution focused, about 30 minutes or so, and we do try to get them back into class. There's always going to be times when it's more. We don't say, oh, 30 minutes is up, you're out. We don't push them out of the office. We support them for as long as they need, but the goal is intended to be brief and solution focused. We do provide student observations. We like to get into the classroom to see what's going on. What does the day in the life of your student look like? What does that classroom setting look like? What we provide, as I said, that alternate perspective of what might be supportive for them to be the best student they can be in that class. And so sometimes we will go into class just to observe and think about the surroundings, think about their placement in the class, so that we're better able to provide strategies or supports to the teacher that will help your student. Individual student planning, and I smile at this one because this is something that's very near and dear, I think, to all of our hearts, where in grade 7 and in grade 8, we have the opportunity to meet with every single student to talk about the course selection process. So aside from the course selection process, we're also talking to them about their year. We want to know how their year has gone, what were the ups, what were the downs, what kind of made their year. And it's a great way for them to be reflective and to have some awareness about, oh wow, this was really hard and I got through it. Or I had some really exciting times, I won a competition. And so it's a great opportunity for us to get to know the students and a little bit more about how their year went, and also talk to them about their hopes, their dreams, their passions, their goals in their course selection. So that's a really great opportunity for us, is that one-to-one course selection. We provide consultations. We have a lot of conversations with teachers, with parents, to provide, again, that perspective of what might be going on with a student. We'll get into confidentiality in a moment, but we do respect your confidentiality of the student and of the family situations. We know that there's a lot that goes on. So a consultation doesn't mean that we're disclosing everything that's going on, but in communication and in partnership with parents, we talk about how students can be supported in their day-to-day in middle school. We liaise with external support providers. So if there is an external support provider, speech therapist, a therapist, occupational therapist, we do liaise with them to understand solution or school-based solutions and strategies to support the student while in school. Data-driven classroom lessons, we collect a lot of data, and part of the school counseling program is that it's intended to be data-driven. We're not just pulling from the sky, oh, we think this is what's good for the students. We really do, we collect data, and that helps inform our programming. That helps inform our programming to understand what the needs of the students are, so that we're going in and addressing those needs. Of course, we have a core curriculum to address certain topics that we know will come up, but we also are we're proactive in getting the data to understand what the student needs are. And finally, as I mentioned, we do provide community referrals. If you are in need of a external support provider, a mental health professional, speech and language therapist, we provide external referrals to help support your family through your journey in middle school, to help support student well-being or even family well-being. Because perhaps it's, listen, we're really struggling as a family. It's not just on the student, it could be on the family as a whole, as a unit. And so we can provide referrals to help support you as you go through middle school, because we know that middle school can be a fun time for everybody, but we also know that it can cause some stress in the lives of the student or in the family lives. So, with that, Ms. Silva.
Morning, everyone. Hello, I'm Joyce Silva. I do have the 7th grade class this year, and I had them in 6th grade. So, like Ms. Beck said, I moved up with them in 7th grade, and my hope is that I'll have all of them in 8th grade. We welcomed last year almost 30 new students into our class, and this year we didn't welcome as many because we were much more stable in our numbers. And so I think we have 12, 13. I think we have another one coming in October. So we have a class of about 160 right now, and they're an awesome class. I've really enjoyed supporting them. And I know Ms. Beck mentioned confidentiality, and I want to make sure that we're all on the same page on what that means and what it looks like, because this is something that we talk to students quite a lot about. Every time I go into a lesson, I mentioned confidentiality and the limits to confidentiality, and also when students are in our offices, we kind of tend to get a feel that they might be talking about something that might fall into one of these areas, and so we are often reminding them what confidentiality looks like when they're working with a school counselor, and also what our limits are. And so I just want to go over this with you too. So most everything that we talk about with students can be and is kept between the student and the school counselor, unless it meets certain criteria. And those 4 things are if someone is hurting them, so if they're being hurt by someone, if they want to hurt someone else, so if they're disclosing that they might want to hurt one of their friends or a family member, and sometimes their emotions, because they have intense emotions at this age, they might be feeling those things and thinking those things. So that's something that we would need to disclose to, could be a parent or guardian or an administrator, just because we're talking about the safety and well-being of not just the student we're working with, but others like their peers or teachers or parents or family members. You might want to hurt them yourself. The student might want to harm themselves in some way, and this, again, with the intense emotions that they feel and the brain development, where the brain development is right now, they can be quite impulsive at this age, so those thoughts and feelings can come with intense emotions sometimes, or different situations that they've experienced. And this is a really big one, I think, for me personally. They give me permission to share. So some of the information that they're talking to us about might not fall under here, but through their conversations with us, we're like, you know what? Gosh, it would be amazing if your teacher could be in a position to support you with this, or your parent, or your friends. And so we'll talk through what that permission to share the information might look like. And sometimes it's like, hey, can we talk about maybe sending an email to your teachers today, just saying that you're having a hard day and you're struggling and you might need a break? And they say yes, that's them giving us permission to share. We're not sharing the details. They're giving us permission. They're sometimes creating the email with us or the communication with us. Same thing with parents. Sometimes we'll talk to parents and say, hey, can we create some communication together to share with teachers or our administrators? You know, we have a lot of individuals that support students here at ASD. And so oftentimes this one we probably use most often, I think, in our offices. And that creates kind of the whole child support. You know, they're not just being supported in my office, they're being supported at home, they're being supported in the classroom, and they're being supported sometimes within the school community with an external provider. And so this is we talk about this a lot, because most everything can be kept confidential, but there are limits to that confidentiality, and that's where they fall in here. I love this stage so much. When I went from 8th grade to 6th grade, and Beck is experiencing this now, it's such a big jump, and if you have siblings that are maybe a couple of years apart, you might realize this too, but there's so much happening between their transition from 5th to 6th grade and then their transition from 8th to 9th grade. And it is incredible to experience that with them. I'm so grateful we get to follow the kids, because they enter as, I don't want to say babies, but they're still elementary kids. They really are. They still enter as elementary students in their thinking and in their behavior, and over the years they're physically changing. But they're also changing on the inside too that we can't see. Their emotional development is changing. Their intellectual development is changing. So all of those things working together. Yes, we see the physical aspects of their change from 6th to 8th grade, but all the other stuff that goes along with it is incredible. In 6th grade and 8th grade, they are like 2 different individuals, really. They're developing their value system with the support of their family. They're developing value systems that we here at school support with our core values. The experience that they're creating with themselves and their friends and their peers and their teachers, Week Without Walls, all of the things that go along in their lives between 6th and 8th grade, it's such a period of growth. And so I love it so much. But their frontal lobe is still developing, and that's where all those executive functioning behaviors come from, those life skills like decision making and their impulsivity and their organization and time management and their self-advocacy. That's all happening in the frontal lobe, which is why they still struggle with those things, with those life skills. And so this is a prime time for them to be doing things. I mean, yes, they're taking risks in the classroom educationally. They're maybe asking for help and self-advocacy. That's taking a risk for them. they're going from you kind of reaching out to teachers and communicating with teachers to, well, I'm going to send the email to my teacher. Maybe you can help me craft the email. They're taking those kinds of risks in the school setting. But they're also taking risks with their friends and their peers. They're taking risks in extracurricular activities. They're trying new things. They're maybe exploring passions that they know they have, but they're also discovering new things and trying new things. So it's a prime time for them to explore those things. And also Week Without Walls is a great, I love that we started in middle school because it's great for them to get out of the house, away from their parents, still in a supportive environment with their peers and supportive teachers. They're definitely testing limits and boundaries. That's normal. They might start to disagree with you a little bit more, have their own opinions about things. And I would say in this process, maybe try to take a step back and just listen and realize where they are developmentally. And I know Ms. Beck mentioned this too, but anything that you can get your hands on as far as adolescent development, as far as puberty, all of that will really be to your advantage as you understand this age and stage that you're supporting. So they will need support with organization, self-advocacy, all those executive functioning skills that we talked about, task initiation, time management is a really big one in middle school. And so there are things that you can do to support at home as a parent, and it also supports what we're doing, the work that we're doing here at school. And because they're risk takers and because they're testing limits and boundaries, they get into middle school, and I have a high schooler, and he's kind of doing the same thing, but it's even more intense for me and for him. But they're really trying to find a balance because they're looking at all the activities that we have, the sports that they can try out for, the pursuits that they can explore during the school day, new classes that they can select and take. And so finding that balance between outside of school, all those extracurricular, and also getting good sleep and eating right, like all of this, it does need to be in balance, or else you might start to see, some behaviors or maybe some challenges with learning and consolidating information, especially if they're not getting good sleep, because sleep really affects so many things. We know it affects things like I said, memory consolidation, concentration, how they feel, their eating habits, emotion regulation. So sleep is really, really important. And I think it was touched on when the middle school partnership presentation occurred. There was talk about electronics, keeping it out of the bedroom, limiting electronics before bedtime, about an hour before bedtime, disconnecting, maybe reading a book, a real book, with the pages on it. Having dinner as a family, kind of getting those structures and routines into place before bedtime so that they are in the best position to get a good night's sleep. Nutrition also impacts a lot of their behaviors and what you see, their emotions as well. So limiting the sugar as much as you can, the sugary drinks, the cookies. I used to talk about Subway cookies a lot. We don't have Subway at our school anymore, but those are so popular. And the amount of sugar, obviously. So just being aware of their snacks. They're snackers. They're gonna want to snack. So try giving them opportunities for fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, good protein. Giving them options like that, even though they love to snack at this age. At least my kid does. I'm always like, "Where's your hummus and crackers?" And he's like, "Okay," because he does like hummus and crackers, but I think he'd prefer to grab a bag of chips. So just providing a lot of options for them that are healthy too. And then knowing that routines create safety and security within your child. And so I know sometimes coming back from summer, we kind of have a free summer. We're pretty flexible. But once school starts, I know that there needs to be regular bedtime. We try to have a consistent dinner time. Even within our school day, the structure of our timings for our classes and when things occur, kids have routine. They know how long the bell changes are. They know the order of the classes. So those routines and structures that you put in place help them to feel safe and secure. So doing that at home can also be helpful too. But I do love this age a lot. And then we talk about this quite a lot, especially I think during COVID, but we've kind of still embraced it moving forward, is that students have to Maslow before they bloom. And so this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And before they can even get to this educational theory, which is Bloom's taxonomy, we know that these needs really do need to be met. And so our attempt is to try to meet them here at school, but we also know that the partnership at home is very, very important. So the physiological safety, just the general safety, feeling safe and secure in your home, the love and belonging. Do they feel a sense of belonging here at school? This is something I know we worked really hard to do over the years, especially the last couple of years, with our diversity statement that came out last year, just as a school in general. Their esteem. Do they have the confidence to face challenges? You know, encouraging, pushing them a little bit, not to where they're overwhelmed or feeling like it's too much and they're stressed, but pushing them a little bit can actually be healthy, you know, and encouraging them, supporting them. And then they can be in a place to meet their full potential, which is then when we start and are able to start working in an educational setting. So I definitely think the partnership for us together can help support students and increase their learning, increase their sense of belonging here at school, and ultimately be happy, feel safe and secure. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Bertha Knox, and I'm the grade 8 counselor. This is my 6th year here, and this year we have about 25 new grade 8 students. It's a unique kind of grade 8 grouping. For the most part, a lot of our grade 8s have been together for quite a long time, so that's the uniqueness about the grade 8 community. My role is being able to chat through with you the parent role, individually in supporting our young ones and also in partnership with the school counselor. I just want you to take a moment and have a look at this picture. When you realize that you and your family would become parents, probably this visual may have been playing around in your head. You know, you come home from the hospital with your baby and those visions of just sugar plums floating around in your head initially, and they do something and it's so cute. You know, they can pass gas and you think it's cute. It's like, oh, you think they're smiling, but they're really not. They're just kind of releasing themselves, right? And so as we're initially becoming parents, we have some visions of what we think the parenting role will look like. But as our young ones continue to grow and develop, we kind of get through, as Ms. Mentioned, some things that may not have matched this visual. Especially when they get to the tween-teen developmental phase. Maybe there is some boundary pushing. Maybe there is some testing of limits to where you hear things like, oh, I hate you know, slamming doors and they always do absolutes. It's always an absolute. It's never a sometimes, but you never listen to me. Not sometimes, so 30%, but you never listen to me. Or everyone gets to do this. Not 50%, not like 2 or 3, but absolutely everyone gets to go and I don't get to go, right? You are always unfair, always. Not sometimes, not yesterday when I was very fair, you thought I was very fair. You always are unfair to me, right? And so sometimes our young ones are going through some developmental phases, and Miss kind of pointed that out to us, what the brain is doing, right? So the brain is doing its thing and trying to help them to develop into rational people that we kind of get and understand. When they were young ones in elementary, we managed them. We managed your homework time. We managed what they did, their play dates. But then they started evolving into these people and we kind of go, I don't know who this person is really. They're not the same like the little ones that were in elementary. And so we are trying to figure out, as parents and caregivers, we're trying to figure out how did we go from this and this vision in my head to where we are now, right? And if we think back about what Ms. Silva showed us in the visual, that prefrontal cortex, it's trying to help them to understand how to be rational, how to be logical, how to regulate their feelings and emotions. Because what they're doing, their brain is allowing them to filter information that they see and hear through an emotion center. Without the consistent support of that part that's going to help them to be rational and logical and to like balance out their impulses. So they're seeing it through emotion. But with our mature brains, we are like, how is that making sense, honey? You know? And what we kind of tend to respond as, we kind of get into the emotion of it. They're an emotion, I'm an emotion, I'm unfair, I know I'm fair, and so we kind of start doing this. Yeah? And so it's difficult sometimes as a parent and caregiver to get back to zero zone with them. Because we know what the brain is doing, we know the research, we know what the brain is doing, and we know what we're seeing because we are processing it from a mature adult brain, even though it doesn't feel like it sometimes. Like when they push that button, it's like if you push it one more time, it's not going to be pretty, right? And then they go to see what you're going to do, right? And so not only do they do this, but they go just to see exactly what your responses will be. So it's not saying something that you're not going to actually implement. Because we will say something out of emotion as a response, and then they're looking to see, are you really going to do that when I go? And then there's inconsistency sometimes in what we say and what we actually model and or do. So these vision that we had about parenting and what it would look like may have started like this. But then when our babies start growing and developing, maybe it starts to feel like this, right? But when we think about the boundary pushing, the limit testing, the I hate you, I never get to do anything kind of comments, actually, if we take it from a developmental stance, they're really doing what they should be doing, you know? They're really doing what they should be doing because they're trying to answer the question, who am I and who do I want to be? You know, I'm in this pod of other people and I know the values and principles that mom and daddy give me at home. And now with these other people who also have values and principles, maybe that are taught at home, and then we have a set of values and character traits that we also are trying to enforce at school. So then it's like, who do I want to be? Who do I want to choose to be without mom and daddy right there saying, we talked about that, you know, or popping up from behind the door. What are you doing? You know, so what choices and decisions are they making? Yeah, and so they're in this pot and trying to figure all of this out. And I tell them all the time, Miss Knox probably messes up and gets it wrong more than she likes to acknowledge. And I raise both hands and both feet with them because I want to not only talk about failing forward with someone else's mess up, but I want to be able to model for them when I mess up and I don't get it right. What does that look like? And it's hard when you're 55 and you blow it, right? And then trying to like, okay, how do I fix this? And walking through the embarrassment possibly of not getting it right. And then we expect them, when they don't get it right, to fix it and correct it, right? And so it's feeling all of that. And then how do you, Ms. Knox, then model that with our young ones? What do we say? How do you do this? So it's not just the good things and getting it right, but how do I also model when you completely blow it? Yeah? And that's the hard part of it. And it's being able to adjust, because a lot of times they're not asking you to fix it. Sometimes they just want us to share space with them. When we're sharing that space with them being able to express their thoughts and feelings and how they perceive it. And with our mature brain, we see that what they're saying is kind of like this, as opposed to being like this. And so we kind of go, oh, okay. Then it's jumping in there with them like this. Okay, I hear what you're feeling and I understand that from your perspective. I'm there with you. and I want to appreciate and value what you're sharing with me. Excuse me, I want to value that. And I'm valuing that and I'm valuing you by jumping in there with you, even though I know it's right here. And the goal would be trying to help you to think about it in a different way. That part of the brain that's still developing, that's still maturing, being able to help give them options, to be able to look at, okay, baby, what is the challenge? What is the challenge? And what are some alternative things that you can do? And hearing what they're saying as opposed to jumping in and wanting to fix it. Because we have to think about skill building. This is kind of where we are with them. As Ms. and Ms. shared, it's skill building at this phase. We want to be able to help them to develop the skill sets that they need so that when they've gone from middle school to high school, where there's an expectation of more responsibility and that they have certain skill sets, right? And high school has the awesome responsibility of trying to prepare them for life outside of school, maybe going into university, but the world considers you an adult at 18 and 21, right? And so they're not going to be coming home like every day. For the most part, they probably will live on campus or have their housing outside campus, but needing the skill sets to function as a happy, healthy, balanced young person. Yeah? Being able to process, this is my challenge. These are some alternative ways of responding to my challenge. I can try this option with the information that I have. I would like to try this. And then this could be, the consequences would be here, and possibly the rewards might be this. Yeah? And then so it's learning and growing. And some of the most hurtful lessons are the ones that you kind of remember. You can kind of think back and say, oh, that was so dumb, right? But if you learn nothing else, you learn not to do that one again. Not like that, right? And so it's always a learning and growing and developing and getting skill sets that we need to be able to go from point A to point B. And so it's us working together, and everyone has their role. You have your role as a family, we have our role as caregivers here at school, and the student also has their role, right? So sometimes it might feel like this, but it doesn't remain here. As that brain and that prefrontal cortex continues to develop and grow into maturity, you will double whack and go, oh my goodness, I recognize you. I know who you are now, right? And then what we have done in the process of that growth and development, we fill their tool back. We've given them tools that they will be able to use when you're not present. And so we have to feel like, yes, I've done my part. I've done my absolute best to give them the skill sets to be able to function as a young adult, healthy, happy, and balanced without me present. I filled their tool back. Now it's up to them to choose to use it. We can't force them to use it, but we have to know as adults and caregivers and parents and loved ones that we've given the skill sets and they can choose to use them or choose not to use them. The difficulty is if they don't have the skill sets, when life expects them to have the skill sets, life throws bricks. You know, when we go through maybe consequencing or things, maybe they've gone outside of the parental frame of what you've asked them to do, structure and boundaries, and they get a consequence. Those are like pebble moments. It's something that they feel, ouch, okay, I didn't get something right. Okay, let me think about this, let me reflect. And then being able to have that teaching, learning moment with them to bring them back to practicing the right skill set. If we reinforce the wrong skill sets, then we're filling their tool back with skill sets that are going to be unhealthy and won't be beneficial to them once we're not present, right? So we have to help them to develop not only skill sets, but the right skill sets that they need to be practicing. I'm not sure which Miss or Miss shared it, but we have a parental frame. And within the parental frame, they practice those skill sets. As they demonstrate that they have those skill sets and they're doing them more consistently, you can widen the frame. You widen the frame, giving them more room, more opportunity, more responsibility to practice those skill sets. When they're not getting it and they're showing you in action, I don't quite have that skill set. They can say all day long, I'm ready to drive, Mama, I got this, give me the car keys. but they're also showing you skill sets. They're not ready to handle that. So then we bring in the frame. The frame is just boundaries and structure. We bring that in a little bit and allow them to practice in a smaller space so that we're there to support them. Yeah? And as we're supporting them, they're like, yeah, okay, I see this. I see that you're doing that. Then I can widen that out. They are shocked when I tell them that you guys actually have a life and you don't really want to be like hovering over them. They really, that shocks them. I was like, okay, what are they on your back about? Oh, I need to do my homework. Okay, well, do your homework. See what happens, right? Do your homework without them asking for it, and then be able to show them what you did, and then see what happens. Yeah? And then it's like, yeah, they did back up. It's like, yes, baby, they have a life. They really would like to do this and this, but because they care about you, they want to make sure that you're doing the things that you need to have certain skill sets for organization and time management. And if you're not having those skill sets, it's their job and role as a parent to bring that frame in and help you practice that. Yeah? When you're practicing it and you're doing the things that you should do, they can widen that out and go get a coffee if they'd like. Yeah? Okay. So sometimes it's not about fixing it, and they're not even asking or wanting you to fix it. They just want you to hear them out and just share space with them and allow them to just vent. Even if it's something that I know a student needs to practice skill sets in, I applaud and encourage them to advocate for themselves. Advocate for you. I want to hear that. Even if it might not turn out the way that you want it to turn out, that is a life thing. Sometimes it doesn't work out the way that I want it to. If it does, I'd be on a yacht right now. But it's not. Yeah? And so they have to learn the skill sets, and sometimes life does that. But what do? Do you sulk? Do you get in the corner? It didn't go my way. I didn't get what I want. No. Okay. That didn't work out the way that I wanted it to. You keep trucking. You keep moving forward. And as love nets and caregivers, I say love net because when they try something and advocate for themselves and it doesn't go the way that they want, we bounce them back up as the love net. They reflect, process on it. We bounce them back up to try again. Yeah? Try again, try another avenue, try another way. Try what will help us to kind of like go through this. What will help? Yeah? And so it's helping to build skill sets for our young ones.
Can I just add something?
Yes, miss. Oops, wait, okay.
Oh, wait.
Oh, wait, you sure?
Yeah.
I always use this because it kind of like resonates with a lot of parents. I'm not sure.
Riley's acting so weird. Why is she acting so weird?
What do you expect? All the islands are down.
Joy would know.
That's it. Until she gets back, we just do what Joy would do.
Good idea. Anger, fear, disgust. Tell her we're supposed to be happy.
Hey, what?
I found a junior hockey league right here in San Francisco, and get this, tryouts are tomorrow after school. What luck, right?
What do we do?
Guys, here, you pretend to be Joy.
Wait to be back out. Nice.
Oh yeah. Sounds fantastic.
What was that? That wasn't anything like Joy.
Because I'm not Joy.
Yeah, that's it.
Did you guys pick that one?
Something's wrong. Should we ask her?
Let's probe. If you get subtle, shows minutes. So, how was the first day of school?
She's probing us.
I'm done. You pretend to be Joy.
Okay.
It was fun, I guess. I don't know. Oh, very smooth. That was just like Joy.
Something is definitely going on.
She's never acted like this before. What should we do? We're gonna find out what's happening, but we'll need support. Signal the husband. Ahem.
Uh-oh, she's looking at us. What did you say? What? Oh, sorry, sir. No, was listening. We left the toilet seat up. What? What is it, woman? What?
He's making that stupid face again.
I could see strangling right now.
Ah, so, Riley, how was school?
For this, we came up there and Zillion had to have the pilot. Oh, we do.
School was great, alright?
Riley, is everything okay?
Sir, she just rolled her eyes at us.
What is her deal? All right, make a show of force. I don't have to put the foot down.
No, they don't say hey.
What is your problem? Just leave me alone.
Sir, reporting high levels of sass.
Make it to DEFCON 2.
You heard that, gentlemen? DEFCON 2. Listen, young lady, I don't know where this disrespectful attitude came from.
You want a piece of this puff? Come and get it!
Yeah? Well, look.
Here it comes. Prepare the foot.
Keys to safety position. Ready to launch on your command, sir.
Just shut up.
Fire!
That's it. Go to your room. Now. Foot is down. The foot is down.
Good job, gentlemen. That could have been a disaster.
Well, that was a disaster.
I was going to use this video because it kind of like resonates with a lot of families at dinner table sometimes, especially during this developmental period. And one thing we talk about is with students is that there is a husband and wife element, and then there is a mother and father element. Husband and wife may disagree. Husband and wife might not see eye to eye on certain things. But when it comes to information that we're going to be sharing with our children in terms of skill building, mother and father is always what our children will have. And even if husband and wife disagree, mother and father must come as one united front. And that is so because they have a way of dividing and conquering. They know how to get in there in that little slither and kind of like do that, right? And so as mother and father, we always present as one united front. We might go like privately and have a different discussion about that, but in front of the young ones, this is our stance, and we're both in agreement with this, yeah? And so developmentally, they're doing their thing by pushing limits and testing boundaries because they're trying to figure out who am I, who do I want to be, and I'm trying to develop into this young person, this young adult, right? And I have all of these things going on developmentally for me. My brain is changing, my body's doing weird things, and my friendships are like doing its thing. And I'm trying to figure all of this out. And I'm not the little person anymore where we can just come home and just tell you everything. You might ask me how was my day, and I'll go fine. And I had this, and this that blew up on me today. But I will tell you, fine. Do you have any homework? Yes. Right? The one word things, right? I get it too. But I kind of try to flip that a little bit, and I put them on a rating scale. Okay, fine. Let's figure out what fine looks like. 5 down to 0. 5 absolute best, 0 is absolute worst. Where are you on that scale? It might go a 2. What makes it a 2? And then that gives me more information. And then I start probing a little bit more off of the responses that they give. Yeah? And it's difficult for our young ones to have conversations like this. Sometimes they need to be doing something, especially my boys. They don't want to sit and have a conversation like this. If you're in the car, being able to chat with them as you're driving or doing something active, it will solicit a bit more responses and a little bit more participation. And I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Ms. Knox was talking about boundaries and structures and things like that. And we often joke about the term or the phrase permission to parent. But we really do encourage you to uphold those boundaries, uphold those structures because they need it. It's not saying I'm the rough parent, I'm gonna punish you, I'm going to do these things. But when they have boundaries, that's creating a safe space for them. And they will push back. Oh, they will push back. And they will be mad, and they will get angry. And if you stand firm on your boundaries and the structures and your values as a family, they will eventually turn around and say, thank you. Because they do need that. So similar to the structures and things here at school, we have to stick to those because we know that they need that consistent structure to help them thrive moving forward. So that's all.
Yeah, thank you, Miss. I really appreciate that. Because there are things that I need to say because it's in their best interest, and I'm thinking skill building, and they don't want to hear it. But I know that as the caregiver, I have to say that, and I have to model certain things. Getting it right, getting it wrong, I have to model and say. So my modeling, what I do and what I say have to match with them, yeah? I can remember, you took me back from this, I was in like grade 6, I think it was, my mom, and I don't even remember what I was mad at her about, but I remember telling her, I'm out of here, I'm leaving. And she said, okay. Like, what? She was like, okay. And I literally went in and packed my little stuff, and I was walking like really slow because I was waiting for her to like pull my leg and go, no, don't go, and to be all broken up about it. Honestly, she was so cool. It was like I was walking slow, waiting for her to like stop me, and then was like at the door. And because I made this big, bold statement, I kind of had to follow through with it at that point. I remember just walking slow, and she never stopped. She just kept doing what she was doing. And then the crying, the reason I was crying changed. First, I was crying because I was spitting mad, and I was going to do something to make you be mad at me. I want you to feel mad too. Right? And when she answered me, and it was just this calm thing like, okay, what? Then I had to follow through with my I'm leaving. And so I had my stuff walking out the door, crying now because she didn't come and get me and she didn't stop. She didn't stop me. She wasn't like falling to pieces about me saying I'm leaving. So now I'm walking down the street, literally, true story, with my little bag, crying because she didn't stop me, because I said I'm leaving, because I was mad at her and wanted her to feel pain and that too. So then I'm walking down the street, she doesn't love me, she doesn't care. I don't think I told you guys that. She doesn't love me, she doesn't care. I'm walking with my bag, and then all of a sudden I hear this, beep, beep. Guess who it was? My mama. And she's like, get in the car, and I was like, yes, yes. You know, and so I'm getting in the car, and I don't even remember what I was mad about. It didn't even matter at that point. All I know is that she came to get me and told me to get in the car. And that just made my day. And after that, it was cool. I don't even remember talking about it. I was just so happy that she came to get me. Yeah? And it was her remaining like this. I call it 0 zone now, right? Remaining at 0 zone, even though I was doing this to her. I was doing this to her, but she was just here. Yeah? That's hard to do. And sometimes when I don't get it right at 55, because I know maybe sometimes I'm meeting with a student, we have talked about this, not a lot, but maybe 149 times. And this is the 150th time I've said the same thing, right? And I might not, my tone might not have been the best that it could be, or maybe inside, I know that I could have been kinder or sweeter when I said that to you, right? Then I have to double back and go, you know what, I'm really sorry. I could have said that differently. And the fact that you haven't gotten it, and your brain's still under development, and mine is mature and finished, then I have to figure out a different way to model that, a different way to say it, so that it eventually clicks as you're continuing to grow and develop. So then I have to take that and go, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me for that. And then figure out a different way. 0 zone. Hard to do, but with that developed brain, it's a lot more responsibility on us. We say pitcher and cup. We have the greater capacity. We're the pitcher, they're the cups. And so they can only take but so much in that cup. But we have to temper how and when and how we do that, because we have the greater capacity. Another click, miss? Oops, wrong way. There we go. So just kind of, it's almost in wrapping up because I've said some of these things before, but we're thinking skill development, right? When they come at us and we know that it's like this and it's not really making much sense because they're processing what they see and what they hear through the amygdala, the emotion center, then we have to think skill development. I see you here, my brain's clicking, how do I help to get the skill to you so that you are then, not me telling you or me fixing it, but getting it to click for you, for you to say it to me. Oh, why don't I try? Yeah, that's a great idea, right? So thinking skill development, creating teaching and learning moments, right? Again, I always put myself out there. When I'm messing up with them, it's a teaching and learning moment because then I have to model. I not only need to say, but I also have to do, and the two that must match. Yeah? Zero zone goes without saying. Yeah? They're stepping and tap dancing on that last nerve. We need to talk about this, but we don't have to talk about it right now because both of us are elevated. Both of us are angry. We don't need to talk about it then. We step away from that and go to zero zone. When I'm able to come back and have a conversation and you're able to contribute to that, then we will have a productive conversation. Consistency. The consistency is more looking like when I'm not at zero zone, when I talk about like maybe they've earned a consequence. And we have to understand that you've punished me. No, you've earned the result. Your output has earned this. Yeah? And so it's a behavior that's earned something. Either it's earned something that feels nice and good, or it's earned something that doesn't feel so pleasant. Those are pebble moments, right? And so I'm reflecting on that. So the consistency of if I say that you've earned your mobile phone being taken away for the week, no matter how much they cry and plead and pull on your leg, but my life is in the phone. Oh, that's where it is, right? My life is here, my friends, I need my phone. If we're inconsistent and we told them a week, and then in 2 days it's like, okay, don't cry. Okay, here's the phone. Yeah? Then we've taught them the wrong message. We've taught them that if I do something wrong and my behavior has earned a consequence, if I push on you long enough, you're going to backtrack with that and you're going to give me what I want. And it has taught the wrong message. Yeah? So if I set a consequence first, am I at zero zone? Am I thinking rationally? Am I at zero zone when we're having this consequences conversation or a moving forward conversation? Then consistently what I say. If it's a week, if I can't take a week, don't tell them a week. Maybe 3 days, whatever. Whatever it is, be consistent. Yeah? And being able to separate who they are as a person from the action. The action and the behavior is over here, and we're working to improve that so that you learn the right skills to make good choices, good decisions. It doesn't mean that you, the person, something's wrong with you, the person, right? We're separating the two. Support self-advocacy and empowerment, allowing them to be able to express their needs and wants in a respectful way. They might ask you for something that's like way out there. It's trying to figure out where in there can I say yes and live with that, right? It's safe, it's healthy, and I can say yes to this piece of that. They've advocated and expressed their need or want for something. Is there somewhere in here I can say yes to? Because remember, we're skill building. Them needing to be able to express their needs and wants from here on up, right? But also consistently and making sure that it's healthy, right? We wouldn't say yes to something if it puts them in an unsafe situation. Okay? Use open-ended questions and actively listening. That goes back to sharing space with them. Most times they're not asking you to fix it, right? And if they think you're going to like be very emotional about it, they might be hesitant to share it with you, right? So thinking zero zone, actively listening, even though inside I might be going, oh my goodness, what am I going to do with this? You know, maybe we can talk about this in a minute. I'll come back to you, okay? And then they do something, you go and work that out. And then come back and have the conversation. Partnering with us. I always say think team. Think team because everyone has their role in the team. You have your role as parents and primary caregivers. We have our role as a school secondary caregivers because when you drop them off at the gate, we're expecting that there's a partnership that we will make good choices and decisions about your children while they're in our care from a school lens, right? And then the student also has their responsibility. Yeah? If we don't allow the student to have their role and to do their part, it's almost allowing, sometimes crutches are needed, right? But when it goes beyond the need of that and not allowing them to exercise that foot or that arm or whatever it is, then we've not supported them to gain strength in areas that they need the strength. Yeah? So thinking team, does it mean that the team always agrees? Absolutely not. We might not agree, but we also have to think that we're always looking at it from a different lens. You will look at it from a parent, and you should advocate for your children. We're looking at it from, as educators who've been in the role, allowed thousands of children that we've interacted with, but we've not interacted with your child. And you know your child, and we know them in a different setting because we see them in a different setting. Yeah? So my child would never do that. It's like, oh, I saw them upstairs in the community. Right? And so it's a different dynamic. And remember, they're trying to figure out who they are in this big pot of people. And no one wants to feel outside of the pot. Yeah? So thinking team, open communication. Let's talk about stuff. We might not agree, but it's okay. Let's talk it through. Because we're also practicing what we're asking our children to do. Yeah? Keeping the main thing the main thing. What is the main thing, Ms. Knox? I'm so glad you asked. The main thing is our students. Our students are the main thing. And we always have to come back to, is this in the best interest of the student? So our emotions are not on the table, we're at 0 zone, and the decisions that we make are in the best interest of our young ones. And
The upstandard form, we wanted to just introduce to you all, if you might not be familiar with it. It's a tool. It's a tool that students can use. It's a tool that parents can use, as well as teachers. If you are observing behavior, bullying, harassment, or unsafe behavior that you're hearing about from your child or from another student, this is a place where you can report the information. And immediately, actually, we get a notification. The counselors, as well as administration, get notification about the report that's being made. Oftentimes, we might have a quick chat with administration to see who's going to address the situation. Bullying, things like that, that is an investigation or a process that the administration will handle. And then we provide support on the back end. But please do, you'll find this on the Connect page under middle school and middle school forms. Please do use it as needed, because it has been an amazing resource for us and just another way that we can partner and connect with parents and families, with teachers. Because, similar to the signs you see, if you see something, say something. We want that information to have a healthy and happy community. So please do use this resource that's available if needed. Yeah.
Is it anonymous?
So we do collect emails because sometimes we will need to follow up with the person. And on the form, it does say, as much as possible, we will protect your anonymity. It's not always possible. If a student is coming to you and saying X, Y, and Z, it might be pretty obvious who said that, but we will never say, so-and-so's parent told us this, or such student told us this. We will never disclose the reporter. They might make assumptions. We will not confirm those assumptions. So when you are filling out the form, we do have your information. We do not share that information with the target or with the person that the report is being made about. Does that answer the question?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I just want to add, and this is a tricky situation, we talked about this at our partnerships. We do have to consider as well when it's a school issue, okay? There are going to be issues in the lives of your teenagers that happen outside of the school, and I'm not always positioned to solve those, right? If someone said something negative at the baseball diamond, I'm not intervening in that. And so I do just want you to consider, is this a school issue or is something happening to my child? It is also just in my life, okay? Because we do find ourselves sometimes being asked to get into very much people's lives, and there is a line between your lives and the school, okay? And I know that line is very blurred, especially when it's social media, okay? In terms of, is this school or is this at a birthday party, but it wasn't at the it was at the birthday party, but it was on social media. So because it's on social media, is that automatically school's responsibility? I'm asking you to really consider that, because from a school perspective, particularly for grade 6, we're saying no social media. Don't have it. And in grade 6, you don't, at grade 7 and 8, they don't have their phone at school. So I'm not saying that if it's on social media, you don't come, but I am saying, please really consider this. Have a thought partner and say, can the school help us here, right? And what's the school's role in helping us here? Certainly the social dynamics and what happens, the fallout, it's happening, right? If they're scared to come, if there's someone here, those are real situations that we need to consider. But I don't know, I have no answer here. I'm sure you don't have an answer when it is and when it isn't. Just consider is all I'm asking.
Can I also add skill building further to that? We might think of like, that we respond as parents in one way if it's a sibling against another sibling arguing or fighting. Or it's a different situation when they may be in the room or lying to each other, whatever, right? It still goes back to what skills are we building for them to be able to navigate through the different vicissitudes, the different challenges that they face. So it's skill building, a teaching, learning opportunity. Sometimes in those teaching, learning opportunities, there are consequences and or rewards. But at the end of the day, it's still skill building. The computer or internet, it's a tool, but it's the user of the tool and the choices and decisions that they make and whether they have the skill sets to be able to use the tool in an appropriate, healthy way. So always keep coming back to skill building and where our young ones are at this developmental phase and whether they're able to actually navigate and handle that type of responsibility. And if they're not, as our love nets and as people care about them, we have to sometimes make hard decisions that they won't like. Everyone has it. Okay, but maybe it's not okay for you to have it because the behavior that I'm seeing is X, Y, and Z, and these type behaviors don't show me that this can handle this type of responsibility, whatever that is, right? So let their behavior inform whatever your choice is or whatever the decision needs to be as mom and dad or mom or whomever, as the caregivers, right? Your behavior is telling me this, and this. Your behavior is telling me that you're not able to handle that right now. Your behavior is showing me that you can handle this right now, right? And as caregivers, that's our role. And sometimes they won't like it. Sometimes they will cry. They'll come to my office sometimes and cry. And I will let them cry. You know, it's like we say, there, don't cry, because sometimes it makes us feel uncomfortable that they're crying. No, cry it out. When you're done, we can talk. Yeah? Yes, miss.
Relating to maybe the bullying and social media, and maybe this is just a comment, I became aware last year that parents on social media make comments about activities at school, about children at school. While that's in their personal time, I do think that that reflects the kind of community we're choosing to invite here. And I think maybe that is something to think about addressing because they're talking about the school and they're talking about the kids, and it's negative and it's harmful, and it's in some ways probably considered bullying, considering different contexts. So maybe just something to think about. And I don't know what the school has received about it or hasn't received about it, but it only came up to my attention. I'm still fairly new at the end of the year last year, and I was really, of course, disappointed and surprised to see that parents are participating in social media. Snapchat, which is, I always thought the kids thing, like I just have it to see what my kids do, but parents posting on Snapchat, on social media, referencing activities at school, referencing what's going on at school, and talking about those in really, I would say, kind of harmful and even maybe hateful ways. So something to think about.
Something that we would deal with and was brought to our attention.
Yeah.
Between us and that parent.
Okay. Thank you. And I guess my those centavos, my little 2 cents worth. The same skills and the same things that we're asking from our children, what we say and what we do, they hear so much more of what we do than sometimes what we say. The two have to match, and so it's us modeling what we also expect our children to be doing. And if I don't really care much for social media, but if I were participating in social media, I would pray that I would be able to, like, if someone is making things or saying comments that aren't okay, either I would say, oh, I'm so sorry, that's so not nice, please, this space is used for X, Y, and Z, or I can just continue using it because I have a choice of whether I'm participating in this mode of communication and or not, which is the same thing, the same options that we talk to our students about. Right? Sometimes it's a shut that down kind of thing because you need to feel have a healthy, happy space. And sometimes it's a children and students wanting to say, that was my friend. That's not okay for this space. We don't speak like that about each other in this space. Right? Or they have the option of saying, I'm sorry, I'm gonna block this or I'm not gonna be a part of this mode of communication. Full stop. Because we have circles of control, not just children, adults too, we have circles of control. That's what we can control.
And I do think it's challenging for you all because it is, a lot of it I do feel is coming from parents and from examples. And so it's challenging for you all to work with kids that have a very different example at home.
And as long as those parents are on here.
They're not.
We really want to thank you for coming. We're over our time. We'd love to get back to the kids. Please reach out to us if you have any comments or questions. We'd love to connect with you. But thank you so much.
Thank you for coming today. Thank you.